Let's get this party started.
Coverage tight, spotlight on tomorrow. Who you with? Trust, you'll be delighted that you followed. At Phirst Contention, the invention. We debate sports, of course we should mention. What's that? We cover games, we don't play suspensions. We 100, so if your star's missing, we let you know your squad surely gone fishing. We never fish though, no, not our motto. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contention.
I said, hola, senors and senoritas. Welcome to another episode of Phirst Contention. I'm your boy, Marvin S. Banks, here with the tie. Whoa, Sosina.
Salutations, folks. We got a great show in store for you. Marv here. Your boy's here. Steve's here. What's going on, Steve?
Yes, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Strive higher every day. It's your boy, Stephen Davis, here in Shed's Block. As you can see, we'll be coming back, but let's get this show going, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. You asked for it, folks, and you got it. The playoff football series is here. 1, Alabama, 2, Oregon, 3, Florida State, and 4, the Ohio State. Your thoughts on the committee's selections? Did they get it right?
You know what, Ty? I think that they did get it right. The only thing that I have a problem with is how did they get there? It seems that the playoff committee had a hard time between Baylor, TCU, Ohio State, Florida State, Mississippi State, Ole Miss at one point in time. But it seemed that they took a couple of detours to finally get there, but they finally got the Final Four right. And they sent a couple of messages to the Big 12 Conference of not having a conference championship and not having a true champion within that conference too as well.
Absolutely, and I think they got it right as well. Grant, keep in mind, this is a subjective ranking. I mean, if it was the BCS series, you know, you're looking at 3 and 4. Imagine how that would have been. So at least one way or another, these teams get to play it out. I mean, how can you ignore Ohio State? I mean, look at what they did. You lose their one bad loss, Virginia Tech, early in the year. After losing your Heisman candidate in Braxton Miller, and then JT Barrett steps up and he explodes. Then you lose him and you go into a championship game against Wisconsin with your third-string quarterback and win. So, you know, the 4th spot is the one that's in contention here, and I think they nailed it.
You know what? That state in between Indiana and Pennsylvania did a number on my hometown state, man. 59-0. It's the first time that a conference championship team has ever been shut out in a championship conference game.
Squadoosh.
And I got relentless emails from Mr. Shed's Block that's behind me over here, and also from Dominic Lee Jones in Columbus, Ohio. And I have a message for him. Let me tell you from the deep down bottom of my heart, I can't stand the whole state of Ohio. I despise it. I don't like Cleveland. I don't like Cincinnati. I don't like Columbus. And I could care less about them. I hope LeBron leave in 2 years. That's how much spite I have in my body right now. That's how I feel right now, Ty.
To speak on Ohio State's behalf again, let's talk about who they don't like. Melvin Gordon, remember him?
Yeah.
We talked about him when he set the record with 408 rushing yards against Nebraska, just to be broken a week later. They held him, a Heisman candidate, one of the final 3, to 76 yards rushing. This is a good team in Wisconsin. They've been around for 21 years, 19 bowl games in 21 years, and 6 Rose Bowls. I mean, for them to do what they did, it really jumped into the front. But I mean, let's cut to the chase. Who do you have in your top 4, Marvin?
You know what? I have to agree with the committee. I think my top 4 would definitely stay the same. You know, one thing that I like about the committee that's a little bit different is that you actually got football coaches and ADs and people that actually watch the sport and they're making judgment decisions and things of that nature. With Barry Alvarez, Tom Osborne, Condoleezza Rice, Jeff Long, people in there that's making decisions. And I like to see that, even though Florida State is number 3 and they are undefeated, but they're the 3rd best team behind Oregon and Alabama, which I think is the correct decision moving forward because Florida State has struggled. But your Final Four, who would you have in your football Final Four, though?
Immediately after Ohio State put that shellacking on the Badgers, I tweeted out the exact same ranking at the exact same spots. The only thing that could have happened is after Florida State's latest win, they could have moved out of the top 4 because it seems like all they do is win and go further back. Can we make a quick case for TCU and Baylor? I mean, these teams need to kind of put some strength on the back end of their schedule if they're expecting to kind of move into, the Final Four.
Well, the back half of the Big 12 was so top heavy. You got some of those bottom feeder teams that that Baylor and TCU was looking at. So in that instance, I can understand why the committee was like, Ohio State has a better resume and a better record. So, what the troll job that they did against my hometown team, let's go to another troll job that happened in St. Louis. Rams head coach Jeff Fisher decided to trot out the 6 players traded for Robert Griffin III only a couple years ago for the coin toss. Ty, is this the best troll that you have ever seen?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that makes it one of the grandest is that you couldn't tell. No one was sure at first. So when you do something subtle, just kind of under the table, and then other people like, wait a minute, wait, Janoris, Stedman Bailey, Greg Robinson, Brockers, Ogletree, aren't these the guys you got in that explosive deal? So yes, this was the best troll job ever. He didn't have to tell no one. He didn't have to hear it from no sources, under the table or under the rug. Yes, Jeff Fisher, I salute you, sir. I salute you.
You know what was so funny about the troll job? That it was, like you said, it was just so smooth. It was just so smooth.
Velvet, baby.
The message that he sent to Washington was like, well, we feel happy about our trade. How do you feel about RG3 right now? And he just kind of sat back and looked at him and laughed as they shut out the Washington Redskins this past game. But is this the best troll job? That same week, Michael Bennett had a pretty good troll job himself, saying that Mark Sanchez was impersonating a good quarterback this past week. That was pretty good. I have to give him props for that. Aaron Rodgers with the grape crush soda that he drank after he beat the Vikings. That was also another good troll job. And the best troller has to go to Richard Sherman. Whatever he says, whatever he does, he's the best troller. He's the best person of trolling somebody with the "Are you mad, bro?" at Tom Brady, with the "I'm better than you" to Michael Crabtree, and he just seems to embrace that troll mentality.
Before we kind of spoke, we talked about MJ's shot, and we said that was more so arrogant. I think the thing with Sherman is more so arrogance, I will say. But back to Fisher, his time with the Titans. Look at the quarterback he didn't want to draft, Vince Young, but the organization wanted him. This was Fisher's way of saying, you know what, especially with hindsight being 2020, when I say don't get a quarterback, don't get that quarterback. So let's trade out of 2, stockpile these picks, and it's paying off for them because he walked them out and he said all the news about RG3 ain't been good news.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's how you build a team. And that's one of the ways that the Rams are beginning to turn their franchise around. They're building their team through the draft. They made that blockbuster deal that seems that it changed the fortunes of the St. Louis organization. So from a mental standpoint, it shows the camaraderie. It shows the union that's within the Rams. And it just shows the dysfunction that's happening within the Redskins organization.
And that's all fine and dandy. But most importantly, it took trolling to a whole nother level.
It's nothing like throwing salt in another organization. But let's throw it over to my man, Shed, Steve Davis over here in Shed's Block. Shed, what do you have for us? Do you believe that this is the best troll job that you have ever seen?
Absolutely, I think that was the biggest troll of the year. You got to think about it. He sends out the 6 players that he got in the draft, for that trade for RG3. And the bad thing about it is that RG3 barely even played that game. They lost in the blowout at home. RG3's having a bad year. It's like perfect timing for Fisher to come out with something like this. I think the Rams have a very young defense, and they're obviously, trading upwards. They still got to figure out their quarterback situation and a staple at running back. Right now they got Trey Mason, but they had Zach Stacy. They had, a few other guys kind of come in and out, but hopefully they can figure that thing out on offense because that defense is looking very legit. So shout out to Fish, like we talked about, man. These trolls, It's hilarious. I love to see that type of stuff happening. And, man, I just hope RG3 can get it together because otherwise he's going to be out of D.C., man. It's crazy.
Appreciate the insight, Steve. Man, trolling. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Nothing like good old trash talking trolling.
Let's move from Fisher and Titans, out west to Manning and the Broncos. Now, he hasn't looked as good as he has, early this season, especially last year with that offense, put up a ridiculous amount of points. Coming off of yesterday, although a win, 173 yards, 2 interceptions. Is Peyton Manning, after all these years and the neck surgery, finally showing signs of decline?
You know what was interesting about that is that it seemed like they changed their offense around after they lost to the Rams. When they lost to the Rams, the time of possession that the Rams controlled the ball was so ridiculous in the amount of time that Peyton didn't have a lot of time to really orchestrate that offense. And also, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Julius Thomas has been hurt. Emmanuel Sanders has been banged up. Demaryius Thomas has been banged up too as well. So they're dealing with a lot of injuries. But this past weekend, his 51 consecutive touchdown streak did come to an end.
Worth mentioning.
In December, his QBR, his quarterback rating is 56.9, which is kind of interesting when you think about how Peyton Manning plays. But it just shows that they're changing, maybe better for the playoffs. He might have to take a step back, but they're getting playoff ready, though.
Absolutely. And, we all know what's coming. Peyton Manning is great, one of the goats of this game at the quarterback position, but they've just put too much on his plate, and he can't do it all, and we saw that in the Super Bowl. So I believe they're kind of switching it up. From week 9 to 11, Manning averaged 51 attempts a game. And they went 1-2 in that span, which was technically 0-3 because that win was against the Raiders. I think they're switching into playoff mode. You've got to be able to run the ball like the team that beat them in the Seahawks. You need to give Manning this time to recuperate from all these attempts that he's been, kind of shouldering the, the weight of the team. And so I think they're kind of flipping into the playoff mode here. Let's just give it to C.J. Anderson, have Manning rest his arm so that when we really need him, we'll have our ground game, but most importantly, we'll have Manning feeling a bit more fresh.
And that's a good thing because when you get into that playoff mode, you have to get into controlling the clock. You got to get into running the ball. It's getting a little bit colder outside. So when you can control the clock and control the ball, it gives your team a better opportunity to win. And when you think about it, let's switch over to contenders and pretenders within the NFL. Who are the NFL teams that are looking to get in the playoffs that can make that Super Bowl run, that are really that upper echelon of that team, and who are those that's kind of protruding in the way of a Super Bowl champion in the way? Let's start off in NFC. Who do you say?
Let's start with the contenders. Obviously, you've got, after what they did on Monday night, especially and what they've been doing at home, the Green Bay Packers. As much as it pains me to see, Aaron Rodgers is the truth. You can hate, but you can't not respect him. Green Bay and what Aaron Rodgers are doing is amazing, putting up a ridiculous amount of points, and they've got the inside track at, home field advantage. And then let's look at the other team that is kind of their kryptonite for, say, one of our NFC West teams, Seattle. We talked about them. We were high on them, after week 1. They were kind of down on them, as they progressed through the season with the trade. And now we're back on them again. The ground game is back. Legion of Boom is back. And that second corner, Byron Maxwell stepped up. So throughout, they're pretty stout. Who are your contenders?
I have to agree with those top 2 right there. And if I have to throw another one in there, I would have to throw Dallas in there. And the reason I would throw Dallas in there is because just as we talked about how Peyton Manning is not relying on the run, Dallas can run the football. They can control the clock and they can protect their defense. But some of the pretenders out there, let's go to the team out of Philly. The Eagles, I do believe, are definitely pretenders. They are 0-2 against the Seahawks and the Packers, and they got smacked. They got smacked both times by them. And now they play Dallas on a Sunday night game. I'm interested to see that. The other pretender I see has to be Arizona.
Absolutely.
I don't trust their quarterback play at all. I don't trust Drew Stanton. Even though they got a big W this past weekend over Kansas City, I just can't see them progressing as much when you can well, you can't really rely on Drew Stanton to make big plays and things of that nature too as well.
And we did touch on Arizona in the past when Carson Palmer initially went down. I did say, they're not going to win that division. Seahawks, here they come. But the biggest pretender of all, any NFC South representative.
Exactly.
That's your percent. Let's go to the AFC. Your contenders and contenders in that division.
Truth be told, there's only two contenders, and that's Peyton Manning and that's Tom Brady. New England, and that's Denver. Check and check. Everybody else in the AFC are really pretenders because they have big flaws and big weaknesses. Short, sweet, very simple. Those two will probably be playing in New England for the AFC Championship game.
Absolutely.
But that's the only two teams I can see as real contenders.
How about your pretenders? Who needs more people?
I think the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason I say that is because their ground game is very shaky, to say the least. And I don't think that you can rely on Andrew Luck to continue to throw it out to T-Y.
The best touchdown dance in the league.
And things of that nature. So I definitely believe so. What about you, Ty?
I believe the Chiefs as well. Most importantly, Cincy. Andy Dalton's so up and down. We just can't rely on him. Let's move from the football field to the basketball court. We talked about the Rams last week, coming out with the hands up demonstration. Derrick Rose leading the way, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, KG following suit. Before the game, wearing their I Can't Breathe shirts, kind of talking about, Eric Gardner, being choked out by the officer in New York. Your thoughts on what Derrick Rose did?
Derrick Rose, it surprised me a lot because he's very cool, calm, he's very collected, he's very imperturbable. That is Marvin's big word of the week, imperturbable, too as well. So make sure you follow and look out for that one. But it surprised me that Derrick Rose actually put on that T-shirt because he doesn't represent the person that's very outgoing. Mm-hmm. He's kind of, like I said, kind of kept to himself, but I like this new age of athlete.
Absolutely.
The one that's taking a stand, that's one that's more socially active and socially aware compared to athletes that's in the past that's just kind of just stayed in the middle. And you're talking about the Jeters, the Tigers, the Jordans, and different things of that nature that's really about their brand and really didn't take a stand on different social issues and that thing too as well. Right.
Marv, we've shifted from an age where athletes were more outspoken, Jesse Owens, Muhammad Ali, Jake Carlos and them, with the fists up, in the Olympics there, to an area where, it seemed like athletes just take their paychecks and go. But, this is great. They're coming back. They're coming to the forefront. And, as you can see, everyone's following suit and it's catching on like wildfire. But let's talk about the criticism that these athletes receive. A writer said that, it's awesome that Rose feels this way, but he should be able to say why, basically saying that he can't verbalize why he feels this way. I've heard one caller call in and said that, why don't athletes wear a shirt that say, I shouldn't steal cigarettes so I get myself in a bad situation? It seems like their first notch is to kind of devalue the victims of this brutality and, devalue and kind of break down the athletes and say, what they're doing isn't really right.
See, I guess what really concerns me is that whenever we're dealing with a situation like that, it's always the Eric Gardner case. Mm-hmm. Eric Gardner is not the one that's on trial. Eric Gardner is not the one that's going through a grand jury.
Didn't even get a trial.
The different things of that nature. So when people call in, I think actions always speak louder than words. Having the T-shirts, when the Clippers have their no-name T-shirts, and they threw those down on the ground too as well. The silent protests, different things of that nature, where people are able to do more action, not say anything, and just let the action speak louder than words. Is definitely something that's better. That's better because it leaves that imagination. You don't have to worry about anything else besides that.
And again, when I saw the photo, hats off to Derrick Rose. We talk about him being, more so, intrinsic, not so much, not too loud on the exterior. But this is a man, when he first signed, that big deal, huge ties to Chicago. We know what's going on in Chicago. This man cried because he talked about the city is from, what's going on in the city, and it really hurt him. Mm-hmm. So again, just awesome to see him step to the forefront and kind of show, that solidarity.
And let me ask you, because you're a Chicago native, and tell me, what does Derrick Rose mean when he comes out and does different things like that? What does it mean for the whole city of Chicago? What does it mean for the whole state? How How important is Derrick Rose to that whole situation that's going on with social awareness and social activism?
I mean, Chicago has a very, very good sports culture. So, I mean, when you see your athletes doing these things, the positive things, people look up to Derrick Rose, especially, this man, Derrick Rose from the South Side, I can be Derrick Rose, or better yet, I can do something else in my life. I can make it out. I can become something. So when you see people that you look up to doing things like that, taking stands, it kind of moves the needle. These people kind of start to take their own stands. We talk about voting. It's important to get people of color in our communities out there voting. So when athletes do these things, it's just great for the communities that they're from. Speaking of communities and where you're from, let's go back to Steve, again, Ferguson native. What do you think, from the hands up display to the I can't breathe display? Your thoughts?
I am kind of stunned that Derrick Rose was the first person to kind of come out as far as wearing the I Can't Breathe shirt, just because, like you said, the guy's kind of, he's an introvert. He doesn't really seem like the type of guy that'll make a stand or be that first person to do it. But I commend him, man. I'm very surprised that he did it. And obviously, he's looking at the situation. He has a kid. He wants the kids to actually look at him, especially in Chicago and what's going on in that area for where he's from, and see that, he's making a stand for something that actually is very valuable in the community, just so they can see that this stuff is valuable. We look at athletes, especially in the black community, as role models. So for a guy like him, especially in a city like Chicago where, crime rates are horrible, stuff like this seems to happen a lot, that is very tremendous. Then you got guys like LeBron doing it, and it's a cycle that seems to continue to grow. And I'm glad because as we spoke about it last week with the Rams, having those athletes come out and do things like this and kind of be a staple and be a representative for what's going on and be a voice for the people as well. Letting your actions speak louder. You don't necessarily have to go and do the protest, but be a part of the whole movement is very commendable. Adam Silver did kind of mention he would like the guys to be, doing this, abiding by the NBA laws as far as, what pregame attire they need to wear. But for them to actually do this now, it's a good statement. It's a good judgment. And I look forward to seeing what's going on forward, just to see if we can get some more people involved, especially like celebrities and people that, some of these younger people actually look up to see that it's not just happening in the community, it's happening globally, it's happening, with the people that matter in our society.
Thanks, Steve. We appreciate the input. Definitely appreciate you being a Ferguson native and speaking on these social activisms and social events that's going on right now. But let's turn to our fan interaction part of the show, our We Sports question. And our first question comes from Uncle Theo, second-time caller, second-time tweeter. And he asked, what is your take on UAB pulling their plug on their football program? For people that don't know, UAB, University of Alabama, recently took away their football program, but they are allowed to go to their bowl game. Ty, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's unfortunate. You look at these schools that have the programs and they pull it, especially with, they say NFL is king. Football is king. March Madness is wonderful, but football is what people get up for. University of Alabama, Birmingham, it's unfortunate to lose this program, but at least send them out the right way. They're going to a bowl, which is great. Best of luck in the bowl. They're reaching out to all the alumni so they can come and just support them. And so, I mean, it's just unfortunate, but at least we can try to send them out right.
I feel that the school did them an injustice. Pretty much what they did was that they pretty much handed them down the death penalty, which is sad for the kids. And if you can see the emotion on the football players and everything like that, it was very strong emotion. It was sad just to see them go through a situation where they can't play football for the University of Alabama, Birmingham no more. And it's just an unfortunate situation right there. So.
All right, let's move on to our next question. This one from Ibrahim Kabir. This one directly more so at Steve. Why do the Knicks stink so badly, Marv?
I can't even give you an explanation for it. They're off to the worst start in franchise history. I have no idea why they stink so badly. What I do know is that Carmelo had a chance to leave and go to Chicago, but he decided to stay. So he's getting paid, but I know he has to feel miserable. I don't even know why they. Chemistry. Phil Jackson said they have a loser's mentality. Derek Fisher saying that they don't trust the triangle offense. I don't even know, Ty. I don't. I'm kind of lost for words.
I mean, check it out. You've got Derek Fisher, first-time head coach.
Exactly.
You've got a couple of shooters in Melo and J.R. Smith, and you know the triangle is about sharing the ball, kind of seeing in addition. These guys are shooters. They're not about sharing the ball and getting their assist numbers up. And most importantly, Melo, you had your chance to come to Chicago, and you pass on that. And so, I mean, don't slight Chicago. That's what happens.
And our last question comes from our Facebook page, and our older brother, Christian Edwards, asks, what's wrong with Cap? Asking, what's wrong with 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick? Kind of struggling right now, Ty.
Struggling, not as bad as my fantasy football teams, which had Vernon Davis, who gave me nothing all season. I mean, the rumors came out early in this season that win or lose, regardless of what happens, Jim Harbaugh will be out as coach. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you have that swirling around your football team for the duration of the season, it kind of weighs on them, and it's come to a climax now with them losing to the Oakland Raiders. But most importantly, I mean, Colin Kaepernick, I mean, he's just regressed.
I don't know. I guess the 49ers might have a little bit of buyer's remorse about signing Cap to that big deal, but what they're not doing is they're not sticking to the identity, which is running the football, controlling the clock, playing great defense. Now they're trying to be a little bit more of a passing team, trying to get more of these weapons involved. They brought in all these offensive weapons. The offensive line is not as good as it once was, so they're definitely struggling right now. Can Cap eventually turn around? I think so, but whenever you come from that running style and that running style of quarterback, I believe that you'll have trouble transitioning to a pocket quarterback, a quarterback that's able to throw then run instead of running then throwing first.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's that time. It's the social media moment of the week. Now, shout out to the Steelers for going and beating up on the Bengals. You know, we're coming for that first place. You know, we still got to battle the Ravens, but we still going at it. You know, Ben Roethlisberger had a good game. But I don't know if you noticed, Antonio Brown, he's been killing it all year on the field. But off the field, this guy, you know, he's like, you know, fashion forward. He wants to be, you know, dressed to impress. But this game, I don't know. He had this type of suit on. It had some designs. You know, I've been hearing Tron as a way to kind of describe what he had on. It's kind of simple and kind of crazy. But I'll let you guys take a look at it and tell me what you think. Yeah, bizarre, right? Well, that's the social media moment of the week. This guy in this suit, I don't know how to describe it. I know I couldn't wear it, but hey, do you, boo-boo.
Well, that's all we have for this edition of Phirst Contention. But by all means, do not forget, like the video, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and while you're at it, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Exactly. I am Marvin Banks here with Sosina. Signing off. We want to give a special shout out to our older brother, someone that we look up to very dearly, someone that that
one of the reasons why we're at this desk right now, to be honest.
Stuart Scott. I know that he's going through a lot of cancer stuff. Haven't got a chance to meet him, but the influence that he has had on SportsCenter and sports entertainment and different things of that nature. Our prayers go up to you. Our blessings go up to you. I hope that you beat the cancer that you're going through, and I hope for a speedy recovery.
Stay strong, big bro.
Stay strong.
06.
Ride with Phirst Contention, that's full throttle in. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contention. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contention. Game face grit, like born for playoffs. Say it all in small time like payoff.